It's Saturday night. Wait a minute. It's Saturday night. Saturday night is a fine time, a glorious time for hanging out with good nerdy friends joining me on this Saturday night. Below me right here is the Linux gamer himself. Not some Linux gamer, not a Linux gamer, not a gamery Linux person. No, the Linux gamer, Gardiner Bryant. Say hello to the world, Gardiner Bryant. That was enough. Chris Titus is sitting over here to my side. He's also known as Chris Titus Tech over on YouTube. He is the tech YouTuber with the YouTubiest YouTube out there. If you go to his YouTube channel, you're like, I don't even know if I'm on YouTube. And then you see Chris Titus Tech, and you're like, yeah, I am on YouTube. That's Chris Titus Tech. He's the bestest. Don't say anything. Down there in the corner, that's Matt Hartley.
It is.
That's all he gets.
Matt Hartley, for those of you who don't know, is literally like, so when you talk to Linux, no, okay, I wasn't going to go for the old thing this time, but you're not wrong. But here's the thing, and I don't even know if Matt knows this about himself. So I was, for a while, I was the deputy editor over at Linux Journal. Before that, I was one of the writers over at Network World. I've worked with like a bunch of different Linuxy like periodicals and whatnot. If you mention Matt Hartley's name this is not a joke, dude, to anyone who works at like the various Linux periodicals, the journal, like Linux journalists and whatnot, they all say, "Oh, I love Matt Hartley." Every single person is like, I like Matt Hartley. This is not a joke.
It depends on where I was at in my career and who I was making angry at the time.
No, yeah, that is true.
I have a Mac article that is Mac based.
I know what you're talking about.
We have a rivalry there.
Yeah, but for the most part, man, as far as Linux journalists goes, Matt Hartley, you guys should go back and look at his old stuff. It's fantastic. All right, everybody. So here's the deal. It's Friday night. No, it's not. It's Saturday night. I said it like 10 times. You'd think I'd get it by now. And we're just hanging out here because all of us are cooped up. Matt, how many times did you leave the house this week?
I got Burger Master, and it was good.
Oh, actually, that sounds amazing.
It was really good. I don't care if I die. I got fed, son.
So you left the house. Gardner, have you left the house this week?
I got Domino's tonight.
You did not.
Right on. Respect. Yeah.
Hey.
Titus, man. Are you going out and getting fast food too, or...
No, I'm actually been pretty much all at home. We did make one exception and visited my mother-in-law that's sick. So
okay,
yeah.
Sure, of course.
Not corona, just cancer.
Yeah, right.
Well,
of course. Yeah.
Not great either way. Yeah, it's not fantastic. But no, yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah, like I left the house once this week to do a supply run. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're all going stir crazy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang out. We've got a chat room off to our side. We're going to get asked some questions. Considering the audience that you've got in front of you, perhaps they'll be Linuxy questions. But if you don't want them to be Linuxy, that's okay too. Make them computery or super hardware nerdy or
Star Trekky.
Yeah, I could go sci-fi and comic booky real easy, video gaming, wherever you guys want to take this. Because I've got with me a little bit of tea, and I'm just going to hang out and slowly slurp on this while I talk to three of the nicest nerds that this planet has ever seen. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Gardner, you know what I'm going to ask you? Give me a question. give me a topic. What does the audience want to talk about?
Oh my.
Well, let's see. Ben asks, "What's up with all these package managers? Why can't we have a standard?" And I'll just answer this question for everyone, and we'll drop the mic and leave it where I say.
Leave it. Yeah.
Flatpak.
Yeah.
Yep. Flatpak. Yeah. That's a solid choice. Flatpak is the standard. You just don't know about it yet.
I know all about the Flatpak. I've sat around having arguments about Flatpak with the GNOME people. But I mean, it's not the right way to go. It has problems.
What?
Son.
What do you mean not the right way to go? What? Because you got to go like com dot blah blah.
Let's make this clear. Let's make this super clear. Lunduke is not advocating for the Snapsies. I'm not going down that road.
Okay.
AppImages, son. AppImages.
Here's my problem with it. Here's the thing. Brian.
Yeah.
Flatpaks are super sweet. They have a ton of really awesome features, especially the fact that you can if you're running GNOME, you can open up your settings and disable a bunch of permissions that you don't want the app to have. You can't do that with, as far as I know, you can't do that with AppImages.
No. You're right. You're absolutely right. That is a feature that Flatpaks have that AppImages do not. You know what bugs the pasnotties out of me though is that things come along like Flatpak and Snapy that don't actually solve the issue of millions of random dependencies and getting us caught up in dependency hell, because running old Linux software on modern Linux distributions doesn't work 99% of the time. Like it just doesn't work. Old games don't work anymore unless they've been rebuilt really recently. They don't work on modern distros. AppImages almost completely solves that issue. Almost completely. Not entirely, but almost as close as you realistically can get in the current structure of the systems we have. Flatpaks and Snaps had the chance to fix that, and they said, nah. And I find that annoying. That bugs me. Because that's the biggest problem that we've got right now. The sandboxing issues, more security is good. But if I can't even run an application from a couple years ago, what's the point of even having an operating system to run the software? I mean, what's the point?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's all.
Well, there are other issues with Flatpak that I've run into. Steam, for example, trying to run the latest Doom on the Flatpak version of Steam, for whatever reason, it just would crash. However, little alien action to RPM up a little Steam action, and I didn't have to do anything. No special. Nothing. It just, it was easy.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think it may be, and I actually ran my Flatpak updates and all that. For whatever reason, that seemed to not only run better, but it just worked. It's like, oh, okay. And so I haven't dug that deep into it. It's probably something dumb I'm overlooking, but yeah.
One can only hope.
Hope so. Yeah. My camera is not behaving today.
I like it. It makes it look
like
a little
embossed.
Like you're in a dream sequence is what it looks like. And I really dig that.
You gotta install, what is it, L4, L2? Good night, buddy.
Night, duder.
Well, I need to turn off
hugsies. Go hug. You're good. You're good. We record this late at the evening, and everyone's in quarantine. And
I will.
I put my kids to bed I don't even know that they're sleeping yet. So I got a 4.5-year-old son. Equal odds he's asleep or running around half naked terrorizing the rest of his family. It could go either way. I have no idea what's happening right now.
Right.
I'm hoping the story time and the sleeping noodles and all that, it worked out. We'll see.
I got sidetracked there, but I meant to tell you, Matt, there's a little package, I think it's L4, L2. If you're using like a C920, you can actually disable the autofocus because, I mean, who cares? There's no aperture on it anyways, and you can't get any depth of field with a webcam. So I go in there and just disable autofocus and then never have to worry about it again. That's what I usually
do. I have a config saved with GUV view or whatever they call that. And I forgot. I didn't load my config. I have that already disabled, but I forgot to load the config before I started this. So that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Side note. I don't know if we've talked about this. So we've all got our webcams here because we all do the whatever, making the videos thing that we do, whatever schmoozy weird thing we do. So we've all got the webcams floating around, and we were talking, was it last week or the week before, about some of the nice webcams we've got. I've got a couple of Logitechs on top of my monitors right here, put all over the place. Have you guys done it like comparison between their image quality between running in Linux versus running in Windows? Have you done that recently? No. Does it make any of you as mad as it makes me?
It's pretty pathetic.
It's horrible.
So you can get them running good in Linux. The issue is there's no tools really to pimp them out like you do in Windows. Yeah. So what I do is you can still do it from the CLI, and it's just not great. I made an entire article about it, but doing it from there, I was able to get pretty much 95% of the way to my Windows. Not quite 100% because you don't get those proprietary software that you got in Windows running.
That app that I mentioned just a minute ago, if you have different webcams have different options listed. For my webcam, I've got I could scroll for days for the options. I mean, I have a ton of them. I just didn't configure any of them, as you can see. But there are a ton of options. I mean, I can zoom in, out, tilt, all the color changes and settings and focuses and unfocuses and what kind of voltage or whatever the hell I want to run through. It's got just oodles of options.
Yeah,
that is good. That is good.
I've tinkered with all
some
that.
Some camps have different options too. It just depends.
And using the cameras, because I mean, you plug in any of these, whether it's an HDMI capture card or anything else, it all ends up being exposed as a generic USB webcam to Linux, right? So then any application can grab it. Yeah. And of course, in Linux, only one application can grab it at a time. So if I'm, what I've noticed, like if I'm using like the Open Broadcasting Studio to record this. I can't use that to control a lot of the finer tuned settings of my webcam. And if I go and try to do it from the command line or using some of the other tools, OBS starts to blow chunks at my screen, have a conniption fit, turn its head in a circle, and spew green peas at me.
They're getting better. They're getting better with it. Yeah. So like OBS has really been amping up their Linux development. Better. So like I have a stream PC, and that's all I do is now Linux on OBS. And I'm literally on the absolute bleeding edge. Like I am compiling on a daily basis the entire Git project and building. Oh, okay, God, they got a new commit. Now just grab it down and do it. I mean, it's still a buggy mess, but you get the granular fine tuning of webcams. You get
better
browser sources. You get all the stuff that the Windows users get. So I can stay in Linux on my Streambox, and it's good. And once they get it to a stable state, man, it's gonna just be awesome because. I had it on Windows as my Streambox, it was just a friggin' nightmare because it's managing all that, and then you got all those third-party tie-in tools that are always throwing a wrench in things. So I mean, there's pros and cons.
I haven't run a webcam. But also keep in mind that the way a web camera or any camera operates in WebRTC is completely different than what you're going to be getting with OBS or anything else.
Oh yeah, totally different.
If you set your stuff up ahead of time with that app that I can never even remember the name of it for the life of me, we'll call it G. Anyway, that G app that I was discussing earlier, if you set all that up ahead of time and get it configured the way you want,
the UVC view thing,
exactly, whatever view app. Once you do that, like my webcam actually supports 60 frames per second. It does, but I go to WebRTC, and even though I've actually made the manual changes in the command line to make sure it's supposed to, it's not grabbing it as such. It's just a limitation of the browser.
One, you should never be running your crappy webcam in 60 frames per second. That's just like a horrible idea.
This is a $200 webcam.
You should be running it like 720p because it's going to look like light years better. You're not going to get like that crazy motion blur that you get. I mean, there's a lot of settings. I've
never had that. I mean, like I said, right now it looks like complete garbage. But when I do it in OBS, again, I can't stress it. This is not what it normally looks like. If you look at any of my other videos, more of my recent ones, they look really good. Like it's natural. But again, that's because I'm doing a capture. I'm actually doing like a borderless capture of that.
I'm with you. I'm just going to throw this out there.
Brian doesn't care. He's black and white. He didn't give a
exactly. I just captured at 720p or smaller and put it on a black and white filter. Everything's equal. It's the great equalizer.
Right.
No one even knows what color the stripes are on my shirt. Isn't that right, Gardiner Bryant, the Linux gamer?
I know what color they are.
No, you don't. It's a secret. All right. What other questions we got on here? Because I think we established firmly that AppImage is the way forward, correct? That's the idea?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have multiple versions of things. Sure. Okay.
All right.
No comment.
Flatpak has its worth. It has value.
It can be useful.
Just not snappy.
So Jose asks, how close are we to Demolition Man?
Like, how are we close to
seashells.
watching
Oh my
it
God.
or to eating the seashells?
Yeah.
To
I'm already
the
there.
seashells.
I'm already seashelling.
So I went down a rabbit hole today. Like I went down like because nobody knows what's going on with the economy and the stock market, all that stuff, and finance and that type of things. Like always been very, very interesting to me. Sure. Mainly because I grew up really, really poor. So that's where my interest comes from. So when I see something like this, I mean, it's something that, I think pretty much every economist out there expected a giant like drop off, sometime in the next bit. I mean, you just can't keep going up, and we're overdue for a correction. And now it's just like this huge, like, oh my God, I can't go into it. I just can't go into it here. But oh my God, there's
a correction.
I would say it's about to get a lot worse in the next couple months. Like a lot of people are like, oh hey, the stock market bounced back up. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is just like the beginnings. Yeah. It's gonna
call that
like
a death rattle.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's about to get rough. But yeah, so very close to Demolition Man. I'd say give it 6 months.
You're scaring Brian, Chris.
Sorry.
I'm all
I'm
right.
not going to go any more. No more politics.
No, that's not even politics.
It's just
that's
economics.
Just sad.
He has no money. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Oh man. What do you think about that, Gardner?
about the economy? I'm terrified, dude.
Fantastic. Hartley, terrified?
I'm well stocked. Bring it. I've lived. Here's the thing: if you've lived dirt poor, you're fine. Yeah. Honestly, you will survive because you know what you're in for. You're like, this again? Ugh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of where I'm at. And like Chris, man, I was poor. We were poor. Right?
Yeah.
I got used to poor. In the early days of me and my wife starting out, I mean, man, were we poor. Yeah. We bought the cheap cans of beans, not the brand name beans. We bought the cheap beans. And you're like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll buy some taquitos. All right. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy taquito brand taquitos. They don't even come in a box. They're just in a tarp. Like a tarp is wrapped around them, and you throw them in the microwave, and you're like, well, this is the shape of a taquito, and you eat it because it's food and it costs 3 pennies. So we're used to that, I mean, hopefully we don't have to go back quite that far. But what are you going to do, right? Yeah. We survived.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. It'll be fun. We'll get through it. But I mean, it's going to get a little rougher. You just, it's one of those things. But, when it comes to poor, though, I mean, heck, I remember, I was this guy. So, don't judge me too bad. But when I was so poor, I couldn't afford food. So when I say I couldn't afford food, I couldn't even afford ramen. Like, I just had no.
Yeah.
And I'd go to work and I'd clean out the fridge and eat whatever was going to get thrown out. So I did that for like 6 months to a year. So, I mean, it was bad. And probably the poorest story I have growing up is I remember my dad taking me home, and a cop pulled behind him, and all his tags were expired because he couldn't afford registration. So he's like, hey, let's go check out the donut shop. And I'm like, Dad, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. So, yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh, so great.
I remember in my 20s, we were so poor, I actually had to liberate toilet paper from the local gas station.
Nice.
And by liberate, I mean like I couldn't get it out of the machine or the contraption. So you just kind of make a big ball around your fist and try and, So we were poor.
Running out of
And I was in
toilet
my
paper is
20s,
still
so
one of the
whatever.
scariest things in the world,
It
man.
is. That's why that's why I do what I do now, because I bet I won't do it again. I will not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
No
going to
way.
be prepared.
You run
No
out of
way.
toilet paper once, it'll change your life.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
I need toilet paper and I need snackums.
Yep.
If I don't have other things, I can get by. But without toilet paper and snackums, oh man, I am in trouble. All right.
Seriously.
All right,
Really?
Gardner, more techie questions. Give us the nerdy stuff, the nerdiest, awesomest question that you've seen so far. Give it to me. Give it to me with your mouth.
This one's pretty technical. Does Jack Audio work with Bluetooth? I'm pretty sure it does.
Jack Audio does not work with Bluetooth. It requires
Really?
PulseAudio. It's a great question. It's something I spent like 2 weeks solid saying, yeah, but I think we can use the PulseAudio bridge to make that work. You can't. That I found so far. But officially, no. Unofficially, it should theoretically work with the PulseAudio bridge, but it doesn't. I'm still investigating it. But yeah, Jack Audio's got a lot of great things going on, but PulseAudio is why we have Bluetooth audio in Linux, frankly. It just is. So
Interesting.
it's
Yeah, I've never tried
And that's
using a
based on my
Bluetooth audio
experience.
device under
I've
Jack
tried
before.
a lot, and it would be
Interesting.
awesome. I'd be doing it now if I could, but yeah. So, but maybe someday it's
I wonder what it would take to get that working. Like I wonder what we need to do to get a Bluetooth bridge over to Jack.
I think it would be bridged to PulseAudio because all the hard work's already done. That's what makes that happen, because that's what I use now to talk to you guys. Is there's a PulseAudio bridge? Otherwise, I'd just be talking like this and you'd hear nothing. But
is that a Pulse bridge or an ALSA bridge? Like do you
I
know
use
where
I use the
is it
Pulse bridge. It's basically it's an extra package that you install. So looking at my Claudia setup now, I got my mic. It goes into my calf jack audio setup with all my whatevers, and then from there I got it piped out to my PulseAudio jack source. From there, my PulseAudio jack sync then pipes it to where I can hear an ear. So
it's beautiful. I love Jack. Jack is fantastic. It just needs to be the default.
keep your X runs down, and it's not all terrible.
Yeah, people just need to focus. I would love to see distributions focus on Jack for the audio.
Yeah,
ignore everything else and just really
man.
fine tune it. Really fine tune it. Put the time in to make sure it's great out of the gate. Oh, that would just that would make
Remember
me
some of the
somebody in chat here is like, hey, why some people hate PulseAudio? And I'm one of the people that hate PulseAudio.
I don't hate it.
And the
I
big
hate it
fan
early
is
PulseAudio, but
so I'm telling you right now, I've done tried to do noise cancellation and other modules in PulseAudio.
Right.
It is a hot mess. I'm talking it sometimes works, but if you got multiple sources, forget about it. It's going to jack up everything.
Yeah.
And,
it gets a little weird. And the big reason why is the volume controls that are installed in every distro out there, well, except mine, but every distro out there is garbage. So everything you're doing doesn't change or affect anything. It's like it's not grabbing my correct input. What the heck? So you go to ALSA mixer. Okay, I've done everything right there, and I'm still not grabbing right. It's because of the fact that the proper tool isn't included. And even at that, it's not really great for. It's not great for a lot of things, but it's not bad. It does allow. It allows me to have. I can have my Skype or whatever ringing in speakers while I'm wearing headphones doing something else. It's really all it's for.
I've been kind of playing around in a lot of non-Linuxy operating systems lately, and one thing that really strikes me is how astoundingly advanced the audio and video IO frameworks are in most operating systems other than FreeBSD, NetBSD, and Linux.
Right.
We just have the worst ones. If you go over to Haiku, which has a lot of work that needs to be done in a lot of other areas, but the way that their audio and their video is handled is so clean. And so tight and so fast. And it just is hot dang. If you could combine that with decent GPU drivers, which Haiku don't have, that we have over on Linux and whatnot, and you could pull all that together, it would just thrill me to no end. But what gets me is why are we sitting in 2020? Because I remember us complaining about ALSA and Pulse as it was coming and everything else in 2005, 2006.
Well, and think back
I can answer
farther.
this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, I was just before you comment on that, I was just going to say, remember when Jack Audio in early distributions had one set of settings, on, off, because it was just a sound server. That's all it did. And usually you would go to do something with it, and it would crash, so you'd have to restart it again. That's what Jack was supposed to be the future at one point, and that just didn't work out because it wasn't there yet. So
what do you think, Chris?
So for me, like when it comes to Linux, Linux desktop is all, I've always been like, hey, it's a whole different world, it's a whole different community, it's a whole different group of people. Yeah. But like where the most of the world resides when it comes to Linux is servers, man. I'm talking like 70, 80%, 90%, almost all of it's servers.
And that's not bad. What? It's just
every single server data center I've been in, it's all headless. It's all just sitting in a 42U rack, and I don't have anything plugged into the audio. I don't have anything in the video. So I didn't care about any of this before I started using it as a desktop, and it's fantastic. That's why Linux is so polished in all these other areas, because most of the Linux users, we just don't care. And then you finally start using it for a full-fledged desktop, and you're like, oh crap! All right, well, yeah, this is still a little rough around the edges. Yeah. So I mean, that's why.
You know. Go ahead, Matt. You were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say what's weird is so recently I had to set up a Windows 10 box for somebody. I felt like a caveman because it's like things so the way that a Windows person feels coming to Linux, that feeling of, that's what I feel when I use Windows, because it's like, I first immediately go to my keyboard launcher. Oh, that's not there. Crap. That's right. Okay. Well, I'm going to drop to a command. Oh, crap. I haven't, man, I can't do that. Okay. Unless I do a thing that does this other thing. And I just, and then drivers, don't even get me started on that. You know what a fun, installing the video driver in Windows. Are you serious?
It's a mess.
You have to actually set up an account with a thing to get an NVIDIA. What? So then I had to Google around some more to find that you actually can get a direct thing and not do this account. Why would anyone? So here
I got to chime in here because it's so funny because I'm a Windows user. So just use SDI tool and forget about it. Right, like when it comes to drivers in Windows, SDI tool, download the 18 gig package, hit run, walk away, come back in 5 minutes. Everything's perfectly installed without all the crap, which is fantastic.
Right. Did you say 18 gig package?
Yeah, well, it might be 19 gigs now. It grows every month because it grabs every single driver in existence.
What is an SD tool?
I think it's Snapy driver installer tool, SDItool.org, I think. But don't get the regular package. It comes with malware. Get the offline package that's like 19 gigs. You get it through a torrent. And it's fantastic. You just run it. You keep it on a thumb drive. And if you're dealing with Windows.
God's point right now.
Wait, so you're torrenting a 19 gig archive of drivers?
Yeah, every driver you'll ever need in Windows.
Because the normal one is malware.
Right.
Yeah,
that's normal for Windows users.
So you're torrenting. You're grabbing from BitTorrent a 19 gig set of drivers of pieces of code that have essentially kernel level access to your entire system.
Correct.
Yeah, that
is the craziest thing I've heard in a long time. I did not know that was awesome.
Here, I'm going to link it in chat.
Yeah, don't link it in chat.
Hey. Gardner, can you unload that? It's not that bad.
What?
It blocked me.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't
man. SDI dash.
Cool. Hey Gardner, you know what I should do? I should make Gardner a moderator in the chat.
Admin.
I am a moderator. You made me one already.
I made you one.
God.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good. I don't want to.
Yeah. Anyway. So anyways, just don't use the online tool. You'll be fine. But anyways, getting back to what you're saying, like when you come into Windows and you're like, what is going on? For a Windows user coming to Linux, here's our experience. And I'm going to tell you what the experience is right now for a brand new Windows user. Any Windows user, this is what it is. They'll get it, they'll load it up, whether it's Ubuntu, whether it's whatever it is. They'll load it up and like, oh, this is cool looking. Okay, cool. Click around. Man, this is neat. Launch Firefox. Okay, that's neat. How do I get Chrome? What's Chromium? Is that Chrome? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. I mean, that's valid. Kind of.
That is valid.
And then like you'll run into like a little problem, and you're like, okay, where's the third-party tool to like install to get this working? How do you modify this? How do you change this to make? Screw it. I'm gonna just go back to Windows. That's the typical experience for a Windows user come to Linux. It drives me crazy, man.
You know what?
But
Gardner, go ahead.
The thing that's like universal when I bring over a Windows user on their own computer to Linux, the first thing that everyone says is, "Wow, my mouse cursor feels more responsive." That's like the first thing everybody says.
It's weird,
my
but
cursor
it's cool.
feels more responsive.
You know,
and it's, I think it's because of like
more responsive.
the cursor feels more responsive when they're moving their cursor around.
You know, it's just
I think it has to do with like the acceleration in Windows, because mouse acceleration in Windows is like trying to predict where you're going and what you're trying to click on.
Really weird. Yeah,
it's super funky.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that. I mean, I get all weird about my latency of my keyboard, my mouse all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, what?
I like old versions of Windows. I just don't care for the new ones.
When you say old versions of Windows,
awesome.
what do you mean? What do you mean, Matt?
98 is great. 2000 Pro is my cutoff. At that point, I'm done. I
worked on that one.
Yeah. It just did its job and stayed out of my way.
Windows 2000 was a good version of NT.
Not me.
No, I know not. I worked on that one too.
You know, and I know, but the audience, I'm just saying.
So I worked at Microsoft during the ME and 2000 period of time. Yeah. And 2000 was good. ME was not. It was just super duper not. I think it's funny because the Lazy Game Review did a like a retrospective of Windows ME just like yesterday or the day before, and it's not as bad as you thought. No, it is. It's awful. It's just horrible. Worst.
So ME, I remember purchasing ME, and this is like the very first thing I absolutely hated it. I purchased ME and it had some blue screens, and I was like, all right, well they'll patch it. It's brand new, and it's the only operating system that continually got worse as they patched it. It didn't matter how many patches I applied. It just went downhill with more blue screens. And then I was finally like, screw this. I'm just going to pirate 2000. I don't care. I can't pay $300 for it. I'm fresh out of high school, and I want an operating system that works. And I didn't want to go back to 98. So I was like, screw it. And I just grabbed 2000 and rocked it. Because I was like, I'm not going to pay for another one. Because I paid them for ME and they just bit me over.
ME is the worst. ME is the worst. And I want to address one thing because I see this come up constantly. Someone in the chat room, and I'm not going to call you up by name because I'm sure you're a cool dude, points out ME is based on DOS though. No.
What?
No. Okay. This is a weird thing that people need to get over. Windows is not based on DOS. Windows 1.0, not really based on DOS. It uses DOS as an initial launcher. That is almost it. That's sort of like saying modern Macs are based on FreeBSD or Linux. It's like, nope, not at all. Not even a little bit. It's this weird technical misconception that a bunch of people got in their heads. They started standing on podiums at weird tech conferences and telling people, oh, Windows, that just sits on top of DOS. Like, you need DOS on the same system as Windows, but it's just no. And then other people get up and they're like, look, Mac OS 10, that's basically open source. It sits on top of FreeBSD, except that it doesn't. Not at all. And it's just like a made up bit of gobbledygook that has no basis in actual technology whatsoever. So to
Lunduke's point there, so 3.11 was the last one where you launched from DOS into it, and then when Windows 95 and 98 came about,
no, that's also not true. So all right, so Windows all the way through ME is an application that's bootstrapped from DOS. It doesn't utilize DOS. It shrinks it out. Same with Windows 2.0, Windows 3.11, Windows 98, Windows 98 SE. If you're sitting at a DOS prompt, including one that is simply spoofing what version it's reporting back as, you can just type Win and launch it. And it seems like, oh, I'm just launching an application, but really what you're doing is you're shrinking out a lot of the DOS stuff and you're loading up the Windows kernel and diving on in and all of that.
Okay. So 3.11, I never had any problems.
Onward did is it hid the fact that it was launching after.
It did more
other
than
stuff.
hide it, though. It did a lot more, because
Well, it
I
does a
can
lot
tell you
more than
right
hide
now,
it.
I had a lot of DOS
But-
programs all the way up to 95. All of them work seamlessly with 3.11 and DOS. And then when 95 hit, I had crap tons of compatibility issues.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
95, it was a janky version of DOS. It was not 6.22. It was completely different.
No, it was DOS
so like
7.
from 95 and 98, it was just like this weird.
So there was compatibility
Mixture.
issues, but it was MS-DOS 7. That's it. It straight up was. It was MS-DOS 7 and MS-DOS, and there is MS-DOS 7 is a very real thing, and it's not part of Windows 95, but you kind of need both of them together to make Windows 95 do its sauce. You know, you need it. But they just basically made it as hard as possible to actually live in a DOS-like way. So on my little libretto, right? I put Windows 98 SE on there. Was it yesterday, I think, or this morning?
I think it was yesterday, actually.
I think it was yesterday, and man, did it piss me off. So I've got this little laptop, and it's been running DOS, right? And I'm like, I'm going to put OS2 and 98 and all these different operating systems on it because it's all running on an SD card, and why not? I can't. And I put 98 SE on there because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's the best 9X version of Windows, right?
Yeah.
It made me so mad. As after I started using it, I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, this is awful. I hate that I'm working in this again. Like, what am I doing here? And I immediately pulled that SD card out, put back in my DOS SD card. I'm safe again. I'm not going back down that dark road.
I want to get to a point about so not just the older versions of Windows and what you guys are talking about, but also just in general. Oh yeah, I had some blue screens, and oh yeah, my mouse and my keyboard and my wireless didn't work anymore. But Windows is so great because it's easy to use, and that's the general the feeling that most people I feel have. It's just I know when it fails me because it cares. That kind of mentality. It's like this weird, creepy, hostage situation. And I know I've been away from Windows for a long time as far as using it. I just don't. I feel weird doing it, but I just don't. I don't get it. It's like so and then I figured it out. I figured out that no matter what operating system you get someone to use, if you get someone that's never used a computer at all and you park them in front of Linux, you don't have any problems. It's weird because you are in control of their experience. You have the reins to that horse. You decide, okay, I'm going to put you on, say, Ubuntu Mate, which has the great software boutique, which just takes away I want the thing that does the stuff. Well, find the subject you want, click that, it's installed, you're done. You may have to learn to use it, but that's not really that hard because they're pretty well picked. I also have a little something to do with that. But so I'm a little biased. But the point stands is that I think that a lot of it is that we'll put up with a lot of crap from Windows, or I won't, but other people will. But then when it's Linux, it's like, oh, I got to put up with some crap, and I give up, I'm done. And I see that a lot on YouTube and in forums and whatnot. And that's actually why I stopped helping people. People still email, and I'm like, that sucks. Google it. I'm not going to help you anymore because I would give people advice. I would walk them through exactly what to do. They would take my advice and they'd do 12 other things they read somewhere else, screw it up real good, and then come back and be like, why isn't it working? What? It's like,
there's a lot of bad, as a recent convert to the Linux desktop, I would say there's a lot of really old dated stuff. And a lot of people, what they do is they come to Linux, they find something and go, oh, it's 5 years old. That's not bad. I mean, 5 years of Windows, hell, you're still on Windows 10. So 5 years in the Linux realm, though, is it's a considerable amount of time. Linux constantly improves. Like, I made a Linux channel in a YouTube channel.
Changes.
It constantly changes.
Constantly. I don't know about improves, but changes for sure.
I'm gonna say improves, but
right. I'll allow you to say.
But I'm just there's a big learning curve there, but also with that there's a huge amount of just progress that happens in that time. Like, just take the compiler from Steam, ACO compiler that's come out just in the past year. You're talking massively improving frame rates and using these new methods to make games compatible and play even better than Windows. And that's amazing. Like, just all the different progressions that happen in Linux. But 5 years is a massive amount of time, and using these old guides, you're just going to break your system, or they most times just simply won't work and end up doing something that you just don't even need to do. A lot of
Some
times,
of my own guides are obsolete now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating. Like my Bluetooth guides, my gosh, I've done 3 of them. Then they're all needless now. Now all that stuff's been resolved. Part of it's because some of it was incorporated into a couple of distros, but regardless, some of the
changed
Bluetooth
a lot.
guides, it completely changed. Completely.
Yeah. It's startling. Like I said before, it's amazing how many 5-year-old pieces of software you can't even run anymore. Stuff changes fairly dramatically. I mean, in 5 years, you go back 5 years with a 5-year-old version of Ubuntu. You're talking Ubuntu 15.04-ish. And 15.04 is a whole different beast than 20.04. They're not, it's like they're not even related. They almost don't even share the same DNA. You'd be amazed to find out that the same people worked on it. Like it almost doesn't even make sense how much it's changed.
Was System D even a thing in 1504?
System D was around, but I don't think we were talking about being.
It was using initd and other things up till 1804. I think was the first System D transfer.
Yeah,
1504 it was Upstart all the way to 1804. Yeah. And then 1804 was when they started to do System D, I believe.
Yeah,
because 1604, I remember it still using initd in the etc directory on servers, and I had to get in there and change like services and stuff. And I know it wasn't System D.
Yeah, by the time 2017 or so was rolling around, I know pretty much everyone had decided that, we're going down the System D path, and that sucks, and we hate System D, and the heck with you, Leonard Puttering, and blah, 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 blah. Like, we had firmly gotten into that route by then, but I don't think back in 2015.
Except my distro. My distro still doesn't. So
what's your guys' opinion on System D? Because I like it, honestly, compared to all the other crap I used to deal with. The standardization of System D, I'm actually kind of a fan of it. But what are your guys' opinions?
I think from an IT professional's point of view, I can see the appeal, the surface appeal. I could absolutely see it because it's a little bit like being able to manage everything in one framework. I think for a standard end user, I think it just depends on what you're looking for. My big thing is that if something goes wrong, it can affect a lot of stuff, and I think it's unnecessary for a desktop environment. I can't speak for a server, but for a desktop environment, I think it's completely unnecessary.
I mean, just doing like troubleshooting and doing like service startups, and then also doing like journal CTL-XE and looking at your errors. There's a lot of really good troubleshooting I've done with System D, and I really enjoy it. And then I go to some of the more, I want to say minimal, init systems and things of that nature. That I'm just like, this is why not just do System D? I mean, there's so many better tools.
But from a system admin point of view, it's solving a problem. It does. It's like, wow, I can diagnose.
Brian really wants to jump on this.
I want to hear from Gardiner before I come in here. Gardiner, give me your thoughts, buddy.
I mean, System D's all right. I don't hate it.
It's all right.
I love System D.
I did screw up System D or one of the config files, and so every time I install a new package, one of the services I have running will crash, and then I have to manually restart it. But other than that, it's fine.
Yeah.
I have no idea why it crashes. I've like tried to read like the server logs and stuff. I don't know. It's Plex server. I don't know what's going on with it.
I can't install Plex on a PC Linux OS box. I have to run Ubuntu or something along those lines, which is what I have on my box. Yeah, I can't. And the fact that I have to, then I think about it, it's like, why the heck does a media server need System D? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But, that's fine. There's a distro for that. That's okay. I don't mind doing that. I keep my peanut butter and my chocolate separate. You stay the heck out of my desktop. I don't want any System D action in my desktop. You just keep that to yourself. I don't want any of it. No, thank you.
So my thoughts is that System D is quite possibly one of the least Unixy application sets I have ever seen in my entire life. Do one thing, do it well. The entire point of having a Unixy system, realistically, is to adhere to the basic ethos of Unix, which is all your applications are all broken up into nice, small, simple, modular applications that can input and output plain text to each other in order to be banded together to solve much more complicated problems. It makes systems easy to debug. It makes systems lightweight. It makes systems only have, from a security perspective, what you need it to have. System D is just about everything on your computer except for LibreOffice. At this point, it's getting to be so fargan huge.
It'll be in a snap package for you. Don't worry.
It's huge. It's insanity, and it's the anti-Unix.
Yeah,
So
it really is.
What bothers me about that is we already have gone down the road of having a very monolithic kernel running a Unix system. Now, that's not abnormal. Most Unix systems have more monolithic style kernels instead of like a microkernel sort of setup.
Right.
Is going more microkernel a little more Unixy? Yes. But I'm willing to make the trade-off, I suppose, on a case-by-case basis and having a monolithic kernel. But now we've got this big, giant monolithic kernel with 1.5 bajillion D lines of code and all of the possible features that should be living in userland but aren't. And then right next to it, we've got System D, which is supposed to be just an initialization script, but instead has monitoring tools and debugging and logging and analyzers and it has all these different things on there. It's got a replacement.
Don't forget the bootloader.
Cron.
It has a bootloader built in too.
It has a replacement for cron, for crying out loud.
Yeah, System D timers suck, by the way.
System D timers do suck.
Just install Cronny. They're horrible. Yeah,
they're horrible. But that's the thing. And so now we're at this point where in order to have a Unixy good system in a Linux world, you end up having to install 2 giant non-Unixy pieces of code, the kernel itself and System D. And that makes me get cranky because that's not how it's supposed to be.
You know how you fix that with more modules. Sam.
So do I like System D? No, I don't like System D. I think it's a bad design. I think it solves a couple of problems because problems exist, but it solves them in such a way that is a very un-Unixy design, and I dislike that. That's and Leonard writes bad code.
Break. Yeah.
Kev runs on Duncan in the chat, says, I like System D timers, said no one ever.
See, this is what
I
I'm
like
saying.
that we're all in agreement on System D timers.
They don't solve a problem.
The timers are horrible.
Most of System D doesn't solve a problem. Most of System D just replaces things that were working fine. And then also it has a pretty good init script configuration. So I'm like, well, why not just leave it at that, man?
I feel like
even though I don't use it, I really kind of like, there's certain things like I wanted to, see how far I could use most of the stuff in System D, because if it's already there, you might as well use it kind of thing and make the most of it, make that minimal system. And what I ended up doing was I switched over the bootloader, and the bootloader's got some quirks to it, but it's fast, which is good. And the quirks to it is like, hey, don't try to do legacy boot with System D. It just doesn't work from my understanding. You have to do UEFI when you do your install. So there's a couple little quirky things with it, but once you get it going, it is rather quick. And I think there's a couple distros out there that use it by default instead of Grub. So, I mean, it's decent, but I mean, but there's certain things I still like System D. I think really they just need to refine it. Maybe just get rid of the System D timers and forget about the crap that's just, make it more minimal. It's a work in progress, Lunduke. It just needs to be slimmed out a little bit.
Slimmed down a little bit, or tossed into the garbage can, resurrect init-v and everything else we had that was working really good and just fix those up, because those already are Unixy, or at least more Unixy. Okay, that's a weird road I don't want to go down, but they're more Unixy, and honestly, go back in time to way pre-System D. Go back to like the late 90s, early aughts Linux distributions and load them up on modern hardware. Then load up a similar distro powered by System D nowadays, and notice how the older distros boot in about 1/4 the time as the modern ones. So
can we also go back to a time with Compiz, please?
Oh, flaming text, please. Thank you.
That was sarcasm, by the way. I'm making fun of you, Brian.
Hey, I had the flaming text. I love Compass.
I like my rotating cube. Man, do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys do remember, but back when you remember, so there was Compiz and there was Barrel, right?
Yeah,
and Barrel, and remember, everyone was trying to get on that bandwagon, and so the Novell guys on the SUSE side came up with this thing called AIGLX. In order to make that possible, because they wanted to be like the big first distro that was really shipping with all those special effects.
Right.
Man, all that stuff has just been like tossed into the
I
rubbish
got people
bin
onto
nowadays.
Linux with the cube and the flaming text. I'm just saying that worked. That was a sales pitch with fire. I mean, come on. You know?
Literally. Close the window, it burns from the bottom to the top.
Who doesn't want that? I literally had people going, what? You know.
Brian, how
Wobbly
Unixy
windows.
was Compiz, by the way? Just give me your hot
Compiz?
take. Yeah, how Unixy was it?
Well, so
Layers
part
and layers
of
and layers.
so part of it was very Unixy because it really was separating out like the compositor, the accelerated compositor from a lot of the other functions. On another angle, they designed it in such a way where so many of those pieces and parts were 100% dependent on each other, so you couldn't break them apart easily, and I didn't like that. So it was like it was halfway down the road. It would be sort of like if you broke up Systemd into 15 separate projects, but made them so you had to install all of them together no matter what. So that's kind of how the desktop compositor space was back then, and it was problematic. But I mean, so like still exists. But we just don't use it that way anymore.
What's your guys' favorite when it comes to that? Like you had Compton, and then Compton's now depreciated, and now it's something else. But what should I end up using for my tiling window manager when it comes to a compositor for tiling window? What's the best in your guys' opinion for the compositor right now? I don't use
a compositor at all.
Well, I use GDM. I want that translucent window with like the curved edges, and then like do the paste to like Unix port and be like, it's awesome.
The only thing I care about is making it wobble. When I move the window, I want it to jiggle like a little hanging tableau of Jello. No, but I don't know that there is one. I mean, we aren't even standardizing on an X server at this point.
No, we're not.
I mean, and we've been trying to move everyone from an X server that has massive amounts of features to an X server type thing when Wayland that has far, far less features. And so, and is generally incompatible with what came before it. So we've got all these other compositing engines and everything else that sits on top of, underneath of, and to the side of all those things. True. But they're all like somewhat weirdly dependent on other things that are being broken by this distro and then this desktop manager. We're becoming significantly more broken and fragmented in our display technology now than we were during the height of the Compiz frenzy, where we had Compiz and Barrel and AIGLX and all these different things, and they were competing, and everyone was upset because what's going to win? What's going to standardize? And it turns out none of them standardized, and now we have 10 times that. Plus, we are throwing out the X server at the same time. So there's no way to pick one that you can be assured of that you're going to be using 3 years from now.
Well, I mean, everyone's in the Linux community, from what I understand, is all like, hey, Wayland's going to be great. And I'm like yet to see Wayland be worth anything. Like it's just hot garbage to me. I'm just like, as soon as I see like Fedora using Wayland, I'm like, and I'm gonna change that. All right, we're back to X. And I'm like, I don't get the Wayland love. Like, it's so much better, it's cleaner. I'm like, dude, I can't even do X11 forwarding or any of that stuff that I do. And I'm just like, this sucks.
We've all been hearing that Wayland is going to be the thing, like for 6 or 7 years. It feels like it feels like that's been it's been like right there on the horizon for like half a decade or more.
And I'm like, Wayland for a little while. Don't get me started on that one.
I want to say when I was doing the Linux Sucks around X11 2012, it was already such a running joke that Wayland will never ship that I was using those consistently year on year back then, nearly a decade ago. And we're still kind of at that point, because even though Wayland is shipping by default on a lot of systems, realistically, a lot of systems. I mean, like the Phosh side of things, we're all going Wayland over there, and like Fedora, and so many distros are focusing on Wayland. But Wayland still doesn't have the functionality that we had with our X server, with X11 or X86 even.
The thing about going Wayland with like Phosh is that's a different platform. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many games are going to break because people go over to Wayland? You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
And so for your desktop, I think the transition being slow makes a lot of sense. But I think it makes perfect sense to, when you're starting a new platform, you start with the new technology where it doesn't matter if you break compatibility. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did see in chat here, as far as the compositor goes, if anybody's interested and is big into tiling window managers, they said Compton was continued by PyCom. So if anybody's big into tiling window manager, PyCom is apparently like the new Compton. So that's what I was asking. And I couldn't remember it got followed up by something, but PyCom is like the new hotness, apparently. So I'll definitely tinker with that later tonight.
Man.
So here's another way to put it. You were talking about some of the features about systemd that really, kind of lit it up for you, Chris, and that's interesting. So I think with Wayland, it's the people that are looking at code and developing stuff. They're looking at it from their view of, well, as a coder that cares about this sort of stuff, it's cleaner and it's this and it's that. Whereas X11 and all that has a much broader code base. It has more maturity. It's been out of the oven for many years. It's not freshly baked. But there are apparently people out there that feel that Wayland is solving a problem for them, much as systemd solves a problem for you. Look at all these things I can do quickly. I can bang through it, get reports.
But if you look at the feature set, so at the end of the day, I like, you take all the politics and what makes me feel good and all that. I don't care. I just want to be like, hey, I want to be the best computer user I can be. That means I'm using proprietary software. I'm using proprietary software, whatever that may be. So for me, Wayland sucks. Like, I can't do half the crap I can do in X11 or that type of stuff. And when it comes to systemd, I can do a lot of stuff, pretty much everything that the other ones gave me, that I'm like, hey, all right. There we go.
Well,
so I don't lose any functionality. It's a little more bloated.
Systemd is not solving problems for Brian and I, and probably Chris.
True.
You probably. I mean, for you, it's one thing, but Gardiner would probably say the same thing. Is it solving problems for you? Does systemd make you go, man, that is great? I've got a timer. You're probably not getting any of that. So I'm not really. But I think from Chris's perspective, he did identify these solved problems. These are actionable points that are of value to me. Okay, cool. I get that. Yeah.
Now, if systemd had incorporated, let's say, an Amiga emulator into it, I mean,
solving problems.
It might be in there somewhere, Brian. I don't know.
UAE is in there somewhere, along with a thing of DOSBox is up and going. Headless DOSBox inside of systemd. Maybe that's what the D in systemd stands for. Gardner, what other questions we got? Give us more. Give us more questions. And if you don't have questions, say, hey, chat room, you're not doing your gerb, because I know they've been talking about stuff. Have they been alerting you, all in caps?
There's no caps. I told them to knock it off with the caps.
What?
I said they should just use emojis. We'll figure it out.
No respect at all here.
Right.
Let's see here.
I specifically remember requesting all caps. That was something I laid out there.
Okay, so been using Linux for over 10 years. Used. Wait. Okay, I can't.
Scrolling.
I'm laughing.
That was a start.
Like, I've only occasionally glanced at the chat room, so I don't know what's going on.
No, I have a whole Gedit, like, where I'm copying comment.
Look at you being prepared.
Lunduke was like, Titus, can you check questions last time? And then I was just like, no. I said, wait, no, I got one. And then I asked it, and Brian's like, that's a horrible question.
It was really bad. What do you got? What do you got, Gardner?
What's the best color for old monochrome monitors?
Oh, you mean like an amber or a green?
I'd say amber would be my preference.
Yeah, amber for me, for sure.
It's just hot looking, right?
Oh
Yeah.
I like,
and it's
the
less
amber
common.
a
I feel
lot.
like.
Make it bright to where your eyes bleed. It's great. I love it.
I mean, the green gives you that Fallout feel, though, right?
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
You can't just leave green in the dust.
No, but amber is that's the new hotness.
You know, I for me, I think amber is cool looking. And I like a good amber screen. I've got an amber screen down here in one of my old compact luggables that's got an amber in it.
Right.
And I like it. It's cool.
Sure.
But long-term looking at it, I think on my eyes, I think the green is easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
And also, I do like them just black and white. Just grayscale or monochrome, actual black and white monitors. There's something to that. You look at like the old Macintoshes, just black and white.
Right.
It was limiting. It was super limiting, but it was also sharp as heck.
The contrast is right there. Sure.
It's beautiful. And there's just something really classy about that, just black and white. I don't know, though. I might have to still go with green just because, it does make you feel like you're in a post-apocalyptic future. I dig that. I dig that quite a lot.
Put it on your pit.
As if we need more feelings of that right now, Brian.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Gardner nailed it. I'm just saying. So,
There's a good question here. I saw one. Ubuntu 2004, and I want to take this one away, of course. I'll start out.
It's the devil.
I've seen all the videos, and I haven't made too many 2001 or 04 videos because you guys know I'm not a big Ubuntu fan. And all of them are like, it's the best ever. It's amazing. And I think even DT today had a 2004 just saying, hey, because my big gripe about 2004 is it's just more snaps. You got some GNOME snaps in there. You got some other stuff loaded by default.
It's pretty snappy.
And I even talked to like Alan Pope about this, and I was like, hey, why are all these snaps in here? I mean, I say all these snaps. I think it's like 5 or 6 by default, but it's still more than the last version. It's like, hey, we're making a push towards snaps mainly for universal access, meaning that they don't have to update 6 different repos. They can just update the snap, and then it gets pushed down to all the LTS supported distro.
Sure.
So that's their motivation. It's not like some evil, nefarious thing, as much as I'd like that to be.
No, it's not like they're trying to force everyone to use their
but
completely proprietary server stack technology that they won't release for free or open
source.
source.
Launchpad, which is also proprietary, but that's okay.
But
yeah, that's true. It replaces
I
their
think,
other proprietary software. Thanks, Canonical.
But
I love how they
Ubuntu
give back
20,
to the community, guys.
Yeah, I think Ubuntu 20 is an improvement on 18, and overall for the beginning end user, it's fine, but it is slower, it's bulkier, it's nastier than the last one for me because it does use a lot more memory. And when I did my 20.04 video for YouTube, most people watch that and go, oh my God, all right, I see what you did. I started from the CLI and then I just installed all the packages I wanted because I didn't want to use the desktop installer just because of all the crap that comes with it. And I was just like, I'm just going to build this out from the CLI. It kind of proves the point is distribution, if you know what you're doing, you just get what you want no matter where you are. And that's why I ended up doing it that way. And I'm still using Ubuntu on this PC right here, which I did build from the CLI. But the base install, what people are doing, everyone's like, hey, it's the greatest thing ever. And I'm like, I really don't like it. I don't like that push. But I get the overall feel, that brand new feel when you first get in. It is aesthetically pleasing, but I don't like it.
I have this theory that they're going to be doing Ubuntu brought to you by our friends at Kingston RAM. I feel like that there's going to be they need to be bought out by a memory company because I really feel like that just solve a lot of problems. It's like, oh no, don't just put more memory in it. You'll be fine.
Chris, before I move on to Gardner to talk about this, if you could equate the current release of Ubuntu with something like fill in the blank here, Ubuntu 2004 is what would you say after that?
Windows 8 to Windows 10.
Oh,
I don't even know what that means. That is such an utterly complex topic for me.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's like
so
saying
there's a lot of
that's
things
like telling
between...
me it is to petunias as coriander is to the cardinal of the sea. Like, I don't understand what you're saying here.
Is refuge, or
So like what I mean by that is like Windows 8, it had a lot of things that I didn't necessarily like the start screen, but they fixed it like 8.1, and it was all right. You know, I'm not like.
I understand.
I didn't like hate it, but like Windows 10, they kind of ramped it up a little bit, and there was more built-in crap that you just had to remove after you installed it.
Yeah.
So I hate that. When I install something, I don't want to be immediately going in and ripping crap out. And that's what I'm doing with Ubuntu. And that's exactly what I do with Windows 10. So there's a lot of parallels between the two. When I say 8 to 10, you're just removing more crap once you get into Ubuntu 20. Not that you can't do it. It's just, I think, a necessity to get the most out of your PC.
Right.
Fair.
Okay.
Gardner, have you tried it? Have you tried the 2004?
No, I have virtually no interest in trying it.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
I have Ubuntu, the latest LTS. I don't even remember what number it is on my server, because it's just simple and easy. But I don't use snaps. I hate snaps. I think that they're a broken technology. I can't stand it.
It's terrible.
And yeah, that's the latest version, and it's a server version. It's not even like the desktop version. So I haven't used Ubuntu desktop for like 5 releases or something.
You know what's really sad is it's a canonical technology. So Snapy is a canonical technology, which means that we're going to have to be using it for hundreds of years, just like the other canonical technologies, like Mir and Upstart and Unity and Launchpad and the phone and Ubuntu for Android and Ubuntu for TV.
Don't forget the Ubuntu One project.
Oh, that was my favorite.
That was pretty tight.
My single backup, I put it in there and just forgot about it. It was fine. It's still in, I'm sure.
No, it's yeah. But Snappy, I think, is their last thing that's left. It's their last differentiating.
Didn't they do Deja Dupe?
Didn't they what?
Oh, Deja Dupe. Yeah.
Deja Dupe. Was that them?
I think that was
backup
GNOME thing.
I thought that was a GNOME thing. Yeah, because they were focused on the Ubuntu One stuff, which I used to do a podcast with a guy named Stuart that was one of the working on that. But it's I have a hard time getting interested or excited about Ubuntu because I know whatever they're pushing right now will be abandoned within 2 years.
Right.
I mean, statistically, that's how it's been going. I mean, how long have we been writing articles and doing podcast review episodes about the future of Ubuntu and the new thing in Ubuntu and they replaced this with this and now it's Upstart, now it's Mir. They add new things. Like every other year, they add a new thing. And then they kill a previous thing that they added. And they constantly are doing this. And now the only thing that they have left is Snappy. And their proprietary closed source Snappy servers. Yeah. So they're funneling as many people as they can to utilize their closed source proprietary servers and products and move people away from open source servers that provide the same functionality, like, flat hubs and things like that. They're trying to move people onto closed source projects. And so just their specific ones. And it's their only differentiating factor. And so they got scared, is my guess. They buckled down on making sure it's not open so no one else can take that differentiating factor away from them. And then they're funneling as many people into it as they can, because that's what I would do if I was looking to have an exit pretty soon.
As in being bought out, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, that this is how I would go about doing an exit if I weren't worried about the open sourcey nature. I was focused on the business exit of trying to have a differentiating factor that gives you control. And when you sell it, you're selling this closed source thing, which means that the company buying it has more flexibility. They don't have to have it as open source, and that means they can go with whatever licensing model they want. It's a better value proposition for a company to buy them out. So I assume that's where they're heading. So it's hard for me to get interested and excited about Ubuntu anymore, because I've been burned 17 different times of different cool things that they were adding, and then they kill it immediately. They have no follow through. They just have none, absolutely none, like none, like zero, like none.
It just bores me to tears. I just don't care anymore. I mean, it does stuff that I want it to do occasionally with an LTS on a Plexbox or whatever. I don't care. It's whatever. If they don't, then I'll find someone else that does. That's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's how I feel. I don't know. Maybe 2004 and 2010 and 2104 or whatnot are going to be just the most snappiest things ever.
Sell it to a memory company.
They will be the most snappiest things ever.
I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, Canonical's itching for a sell-off, right? Like you can see it. Mark has been talking about either a sell-off or an IPO for years now. Like he's been asked about it plenty of times. That's what they talked about, why they streamlined the company and they got rid of the phone business because they didn't want that to be on their books when they moved towards whatever the next phase was. He talked openly about it, so clearly it's on his mind. So what do you guys think? Who's going to buy him?
Kingston.
Do you think, because they're not going to IPO at this point, right?
No.
There's no good environment for IPO.
Microsoft would be the most logical one. I mean, they have the cloud to do it, and they're already kind of partnered with them a little bit. You can see that, like one of the very first like WSL with a subsystem for Linux was Ubuntu. I remember installing that from the Microsoft store, and they partnered with them. And I refuse to use the Microsoft store. I think it's hot garbage, and I immediately like ripped it out and figured out how to remove all that crap from PowerShell and made YouTube videos about that and all that. But Microsoft would be the most logical buy of Ubuntu. It gets them more into the Linux space. It has a really strong community that would give them a little foothold, because right now, as soon as Microsoft says anything Linux, anybody in Linux is like, Microsoft's the devil. Well, I usually say that, but you guys have your own little slogans for that. But I mean, it's just how it goes. So that what they could do is they could buy the Ubuntu community, because it has such a rabid fan base. Like when I said what I said about Ubuntu, I definitely got a lot of hate mail and bad stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll just be more, objective in my videos. And that's what I did. But I know that if they bought Ubuntu, they would finally get that foothold in the Linux community that they've always wanted. They want to be able to, get in the Linux community, and it would finally get them there, because the Linux Foundation is just kind of a joke. Nobody takes it seriously. And then buying Ubuntu would, because people have tattoos that say Ubuntu. There you go.
Look at it from back in a second, because I kind of agree with you on this. I agree with you. The most obvious one would be Microsoft buying Canonical, but I'm just going to throw this out there. The company that Microsoft has really in the Linux space had the most direct work with has been SUSE. They did the big giant SUSE Linux Enterprise purchase, where was it like a bajillion licenses. They did the patent protection deal with Novell when SUSE was owning Novell, or when Novell was owning SUSE. And SUSE's gone through a lot of owners and whatnot, and SUSE is a company that's been bought and sold a ton of times, and is currently held by an investment firm in Europe that flips companies, which means SUSE is likely to be flipped soon, right? I mean, if you look at that, now I don't have any inside knowledge on that. I haven't worked there for years, but they're owned by EQT Ventures, EQT Partners, something like that, and that's what they do. They buy like boot companies and banks, and they clean them up and they flip them a few years later. They've got the big list on their website of how proud they are for flipping companies. So SUSE is owned by them right now. So they're probably going to be flipped. And if they're looking for a buyer, the big company, because IBM's off the table, right? IBM's picked up Red Hat, and now Jim Whitehurst, the head of Red Hat, is now president over at IBM, right? And Red Hat's got new presidency coming in. So it's not going to be IBM. Hewlett-Packard is kind of off the table, because Hewlett-Packard split into like multiple little weird tangledy things. Some of those assets actually got purchased and are now part of SUSE. So it's not going to be Hewlett-Packard, but Microsoft they do a lot of work. Like Azure and SUSE Linux Enterprise has been tight. Like they're friends. Like they hang out, they talk on the weekend, they barbecue, they go to their kids' bar mitzvahs. Like they do all that stuff, right?
Right.
So if Microsoft's going to pick up one company, both Canonical and SUSE are really good bets for them. And if I'm being logical about it, like my gut tells me they're going to pick up Canonical. But if I'm being logical about it from a monetary standpoint, SUSE's actually might be a better bet if they're really targeting the enterprise, because Canonical has had a hard time monetizing the enterprise as well as SUSE and Red Hat have. They haven't really been able to monetize on their popularity as well as the others. I don't know.
I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon swooped in and bought Canonical. Because they have they've been doing some stuff. What was it that they just did with the EC2 or whatever, where you can like buy pro licenses or some weird crap and it's like that seems like they're cozying up to Amazon. So I think that could be like, I wouldn't be surprised if it went. Amazon hears that a deal is like gonna happen and they swoop in and pay like 1.5 times what Microsoft was gonna pay, and then Microsoft ends up with SUSE. Like,
well, I mean, you got to remember Amazon on AWS servers, they have their own spin of Linux. I mean, they don't have Ubuntu and all that. I mean, it's they're pretty involved.
Might be looking at a compatibility.
To be fair, though, Microsoft has their own Linux distributions too. I mean, they've got Sphere. So Microsoft's got Sphere OS, which you have to code via Windows, which is weird. But they have their own Linux distribution that they push on the Azure side as well. So I mean, they've already got that. I mean, what they're really picking up is the user base, as the branding and whatever developers would come with the deal, right? Yeah. But now if it's SUSE has no proprietary tech. There's nothing proprietary there. Like it really isn't. It pretty open, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, isn't proprietary though. It's open,
but it's awesome, right? You love
Canonical
it.
has proprietary closed source stuff. In fact, that's the only thing they bring to the table that is unique and different is that they have proprietary closed source Snapy servers.
Yeah. Well, they also have a bigger clout, I think, in the community. I think they want more Linux recognition on. I think they really want more of the Linux desktop portion. I think that getting some reputation gain by picking up an Ubuntu would be an additional point.
But I feel like from the business point of view, I feel like that they're really looking at saying, okay, whoever's wanting to get into Internet of Things wants Snappy. I really feel like that's really what they want. I feel like that's pretty much everything else is whatever. It's just it's gravy. They don't care. I really think that's what's going down. I think that's the only thing that really sets Ubuntu apart from anything really these days is the fact that they're looking at going after Internet of Things. And yes, they're probably a little late to the game, but if they're able to solve a problem with Snappy in their eyes, which they think they can, maybe. Let's see.
Just as another follow-up question, someone in the chat room is currently asking if the word rad is a Lunduke proprietary term, or can Gardiner Bryant, the Linux gamer, be allowed to use the word rad? This is a fair question. Matt, can you use the word rad?
I think it would be very tubular if he did. So
I would like to go out on the record as saying that I think that it would be awesome if he used the word rad. If he used the word rad more often, I'd be like, dog bangarang. That is tight. That is excellent. And I think you should use the word rad all the time. Gardner, use the word rad.
Choice even. It's choice.
I hereby grant you in perpetuity a license to use the word rad.
Listen, hold on 1 second. I have been using the word rad before Brian Lunduke was born. Okay. I said it in the last video when people were giving me crap for saying rad, but you know what? I've been around the block a few times. Rad is gnarly. All right. Listen, I have every right to use it.
Gnarly.
And if rad is pretty gnarly, but
you're pretty gnarly.
All I have to say is cowabunga, dude.
Right?
All right.
Someone get that man a SUSE t-shirt. Seriously.
All right.
Some puff paint.
Yes, it's okay to use the word rad, probably.
Definitely.
And if anyone needs permission to use it, it's Brian needs permission from me to use it.
Right.
Dude, that's all I'm saying.
Dude.
And he has it.
He's giving licensing. He's giving
Yeah,
licensing.
no, I'm giving away licensing. I've patented all of these things. You're part of my word patent protection program. You're granted a license. Titus, on the other hand, no. So Titus, be very careful not to run afoul of my trademark list.
Fantastic.
Sounds a lot like a Linux company I used to know. Okay.
Yeah, right. Doesn't that sound
Patent
familiar?
protection? Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
All right, Gardner, give me more questions. Give me good ones. Son. Give me good ones.
Well, if you want good ones, I don't know.
Wait, was I doing it right? I was doing the thing with the hand where you do the hand to the side. Is that how you do it?
It's called a dab.
I don't know.
Brian.
Is this?
Dab.
Am I doing it right? Like I point
No,
one
you got to
arm
put
and-
your forehead into the.
That's the first
Oh,
dab
that's
I've
right.
ever done in my life.
You smell your armpit, right? You do
Yeah.
that.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yes.
You do the, and then
No, you got it.
So I have no
No,
idea
You
what
have to
that means.
duck your face down and
me duck my
bury
face
your
down. I don't-
eyes.
Lunduke
So
doesn't duck his face
You're
down.
hiding your face. Okay.
You bury
Lunduke
you
doesn't.
bury your
Lunduke
eyes in
doesn't
your.
do that.
And what
your
does it
elbow.
accomplish? But what does it accomplish? Is it like a dance move? And what is
I
the
think
deal?
so.
I
It's
don't know.
cringe. It's cringe. That's
I
what the
think
whole
it-
purpose is to be cringy.
No, I think
yeah,
it makes you
it's pretty
rad.
I don't need dabbing to be cringy. I'm
No,
already there.
no. It's meant to be cringe. Like it's always that's like its thing.
Okay.
So
So
Like,
so
yeah.
you could do your like it's, if you're nay-naying, right? It's one of those deals.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
more
God.
like being cool because you're a nerd.
I
kind
heard
of
that
thing.
word the other day, so I know what a nay-nay kind of is now. I feel
for
pretty
some
cool about
reason,
that.
for some reason, you saying nay nay makes you sound older than you saying rad.
All right, what other questions we
Wow.
got, Gardner?
Wow.
Give me something good.
What's your everybody's internet speeds? Your home internet speed.
Technically, I'm 100 up, 100 down on fiber.
Nice.
Well, surprisingly, recently went gigabit up and down. Same actual fiber provider, I think, as Brian. So, yeah,
It's nice most of the time. When it works, it's nice.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How about you, Gardner?
I got gigabit fiber.
Yeah.
Pretty
More
nice.
fiber in the
AT&T.
diet. Nice. Okay.
Less good because it's AT&T, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's glass. That's the important thing.
Titus, what are you at?
So I actually traded in like gigabit, and a lot of the actual things in the US are false advertising.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times you think you get a good connection, but there's
Right.
jitter and a lot of other things that go into line quality. So I gave up my gigabit connection. I now have 100 down, 20 up.
Okay.
But how they did it was a banded, basically AT&T fiber, and I'm really close to the actual box that they have.
Nice.
It's like literally 150 feet from my house.
Oh,
So
right.
I have almost no jitter. And even though I took a hit in my down, honestly, I can't even tell as far as my download speeds, and my live streams are buttery smooth almost all the time.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
that's what I care about. So don't pay too much attention to the ups and downs, because that's not the whole story.
I've got the 100 up, 100 down, which is nice since the files, but I swear to heavens, my next junction box I go to is 8.5 miles from here, and part of that is just a little simple shoelace string with 2 tin cans pulled together really tight. So it's, technically I can get some decent speeds going on, but man, is it hiccupy. It's just not the best. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
mine's
had
pretty
pretty good luck.
consistent. I just did a speed test. I have 539 down and 455 up
Yeah,
while
that's
doing
awesome.
this, and I think my roommate is watching, like, streaming something right now too. So
That is so beautiful. I do like that a lot. Oh my goodness. Man, you remember when we would have just like killed to have like ISDN lines or something like that?
I know.
Right?
T1.
I remember the first time I got an actual like unobstructed 56K modem connection. Like I got one, because you never get an actual 56K.
No.
And I got one time, and I remember like, and I wasn't even planning to download something. I'm like, I got to download something. I got to go find something to download. I don't even care what. I'm just going to go download like some shareware from this random FTP site. I'm like, oh man, look at this. This is downloading this thing. It would normally take 20 minutes, but it's doing it in 17. And like, I was like super excited.
I remember when I first got my own computer, I put it in my bedroom, and my mom was really mad, but I was like, whatever, Mom. So I brought a phone line. Like I got a really long phone cable and took it up to my room, and this was like really long. I mean, it's like 100 feet or more.
Right.
And when I connected, it was like less than 10 kilobits per second. It was so slow, and I didn't understand why.
Right.
But it was like slower than it ever should have been. But I left it connected on all night, and I downloaded the Unreal Tournament demo.
Oh, nice.
And it was awesome.
How you do it.
Cool.
Barely worked on that computer either.
Oh man. Yeah, I remember playing games online, and you get, the 56K, you'd have like a 300 lag, latency. It was just horrible. Right. And then like the very first time you get like cable or ISDN or any of that, it drops to like 100 or 50. Oh my God, it's just life altering. And you're just like, it's amazing. You don't have to predict where the person's going.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
I loved having ISDN. When we got ISDN, man, I mean, I know it's just like, like twice as fast as a 56K, right? It's not like it's earth shattering, but like the latency was so low and so utterly, constantly steady. It was the best thing ever for like doing like voice chats and whatnot. It was just the best. And then I moved over to, was it ADSL and then DSL and all these things. And I remember my speeds went up. I could download way more, but it was so friggity. It was just up and down and ping times are all over the place. And I miss my ISDN. That was just the best line. I mean, that was choice. That was so choice.
Yeah. They still use ISDN lines for like voice acting and stuff.
It's amazing. Yeah,
and radio shows use them as well.
A lot of radio shows use an ISDN line dedicated to go into their call centers, and then they go out from there because you get the most consistent. You fine tune it in. It's plenty of bandwidth for great high quality voice streaming. It's fantastic.
I actually have it at my day job. It's actually called a bonded PRI, basically, is what it is. And you just bring them in, and you can drop POTS lines. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff with that. And it's great audio quality. Like we had a momentary switch over, and I was like, let's try VoIP. I'm going to keep the contract and all this stuff on back end alive, and we'll run it parallel and see how you guys like it. And they switched over to VoIP, and they were just like, nope, I'd rather pay $1,000 a month than switch over to the VoIP. It's $100 a month because the voice quality was so much different from what they were used to, even though the phone system and all the back end and all
garbage
the
by comparison
with it. Yeah. But the actual, when you picked up that handset, you always got through, and it was always a really, really clear signal. Yeah. And VoIP, as much as everyone always talks it up, is still not the same.
VoIP is awful.
I hate the VoIP. I hate it so much. All right, Gardner, give us a question. We're off onto a tangent. We're gonna go down to using VoIP to do dial-up modem emulation and whatnot if we don't hurry up and get into a different tangent.
All right, describe what's behind you in 5 words, like your background here. What's going on? Just describe this in 5 words.
Important, usable, collectible, batical, rad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt?
Yeah. Well, I know it wasn't 1 word as a sentence. Perhaps I should have done a sentence. But
since my nephew moved in with us, my wife had to give up her office, so we have all my wife's crap behind me, including her computer. You want to see something really terrifying? She's gonna kill me for this.
I do actually.
Okay, so this was a gift for her that was supposed to be our dog. The person that did it, or the person that contracted it out, well, the heart's in the right place, but oh god. So yeah.
Aww.
It's cute, but if you look closely, it looks like there was a terrible accident that took place. It's just kind of like it's like part of her face kind of slid off, so that's unfortunate. But yeah, mostly it's just my wife's scrap.
Beautiful,
nice.
Beautiful.
And Melty dog.
All right, Titus, what's going on behind you? 5 words.
Refurbished computer, blue.
So much blue.
YouTube.
The tubes.
Refurbished computer, blue, YouTube. YouTube's one word.
We're supposed to do 5 words. Yeah.
Go pro. All right, Gardner, what do you got?
Yeah. There you go.
There you go.
So I got retro gaming setup and printer.
And
Nice.
printer.
Yeah, that's a
Retro.
pro
I
right
see it,
there.
yeah. I thought it was a coffee
Gaming
maker, but I
setup
like it. Okay.
And printer.
Retro
Nice.
gaming setup and printer. Yeah,
I didn't know
that's
you
fine.
could use and. I didn't know we could do that. Oh, well, that's all right.
We all probably took that way too literal.
I didn't even get 5 words. I'm just like, let me tell you about some rando stuff. Blah, 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 blah.
Honestly, so my desk back here behind me is stuff in my house that I like and I keep around and I don't want other people touching. So it ends up just in my set. And like the set on the other side of the camera is basically the same as what's behind the camera. Like there's not like you look behind the camera and you'd be like, oh, he put a lot of thought into that. He really didn't. Right. He just kind of put stuff back there that I like. And then on the other side over here is stuff that I like and over here is stuff that I like. And the stuff behind me is just the stuff that happens to be behind me when the camera's pointed this way. I planned having a desk behind me and having like my old computer space here, but that's as far as I planned it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
There you go. That's the story behind that one. Give us another question.
Has anyone played VR?
Just like in general, virtual reality?
Like modern VR, Brian?
Oh. Like we're talking Lawnmower Man?
Lawnmower Man. Watch Brian, you like paint his camera and he has like the entire setup where you like hook up like you did in the mall back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
I would not be surprised.
Oh man.
Oh, so I don't really play VR games. I get motion sick real easily.
Yeah.
So I don't play 3D games all that much, even when they're on a 2D surface. I usually play games that are more 2D-ish. I just don't really do the 3D thing. Yeah, so I'm kind of out on this one. I got nothing. I don't have anything to offer.
No VR here. I do play 3D games, but not no VR.
No. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you, Titus? You do the VR?
I got an Oculus inside. I hate it because as you guys know, they actually stripped out all the Linux drivers for Oculus when Facebook took over. They dumped all Linux support. And so I have an old CV2. It's not the very first iteration, but it was the very first commercial Oculus implementation. So occasionally, like my son will want to play it. So I'll boot back in and be like, it'll be ready in 6 hours after Windows updates gets done. And then, there's a couple games on there I really like playing, such as Beat Saber and those types of things. Gives you a little workout. So we fired it up last week because, well, it's the quarantine and what else you going to do? So,
yeah.
Is Beat Saber like Dance Dance Resolution?
But with a lightsaber, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's like basically lightsaber VR.
If you
lightsaber DDR.
If you cross like Fruit Ninja with Guitar Hero, that's what. Oh, dude, it's
like Guitar Hero.
Much fun, dude.
Yeah.
It is.
Breath on Fire is a good game too. Okay.
Yeah, you have 2 lightsabers, and the notes are coming towards you, and you like have to slice the notes in the direction. There's an arrow on the notes, and you have to slice them in that direction. And there's also like little blockers that come up, and you have to move your head out of the way of the blockers. So you actually can end up dancing without even realizing it, and it's kind of a huge workout, but it's really, really fun.
Probably just hurt myself a lot playing.
Yeah,
that,
same.
but yeah.
Oh, it's a blast. Like I thought I was getting like really good at it. I'm like, I'm gonna stream this on Twitch. I'm so good. And then I'm like, I better see what the other people are doing real fast. And then I like pull up their stream and I'm like, oh wow, I had no idea. Holy balls, this is amazing. Some people are just really talented.
Have you seen the ones?
Definitely not doing that.
Have you seen the ones? There's like modes that you can enable that let you do single lightsaber mode, and so instead of having 2, you have to just like. And it's like twice as fast for one hand, and it's insane.
People do it. It's
do you have an apparatus in your hand, or is it just hand motion? I mean,
oh no, you have. For me, I have 2 controllers. They strap to my hand. I don't even have to like hold them. They just strap to my hand, and I can do whatever. But I have a Valve Index. and the Valve Index is the best VR headset setup that you can get. And the
cool.
controllers are great because you can like it can like detect like if you're squeezing them.
Oh, wow.
And it does like finger tracking. So you, it's super great.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like if I'm looking in the game at my hands,
right?
You mean like
buttons?
Okay.
Yeah.
And like this,
What do you
and
mean
I actually
finger
see-
tracking.
Like if you do any finger, it'll like it'll track whatever finger you have
Like
up.
you
So
like
it's
you
not just
click
the pointer
buttons or
index.
just
No.
wherever your fingers are at.
It's like
If I'm wearing the headset right now and I hold my hands out in front of me and I have like hand representation in the game, then I can like do stuff like this and I can see the virtual hands doing what I'm doing with my fingers.
Like just imagine you could play like the piano or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of
great
possibilities to it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And to your point, Brian, where you say you get motion sick really easily, I do too. I get really sick even just like riding passenger in a car. I'm so bad at it. But VR, the Valve Index is really, really good if you have a good gaming PC. Like
it's about frame rate, isn't it? I mean, that's
it's about frame rate and about the persistence of vision. So like if the screen has like too much persistence between frames, then that can make you sick.
Okay.
But like,
that makes
you run
sense.
it at like 90 hertz, 90 frames a second or higher, most people won't get sick from just normal play.
Wow.
Yeah, so I have Skyrim and Fallout in VR, and I get some sickness, but not too bad. But as soon as I started playing those games, I was like, well, I don't want the teleport command. That's cheating, because you'd sit there and click, and then all of a sudden just jump forward. So I was like, well, I want it to walk like I'm walking.
Right. Sure.
Well, there's a reason why they don't do that by default, because you're gonna get sick as hell. Like within like couple minutes you're gonna barf, because I mean you're walking and you're moving, but you're not moving, and you're just like, oh my god. So they try and do like this vignette effect where it does like you're looking through a little binoculars, and it helps a little bit, but eventually you just end up teleporting everywhere because you can't walk technically.
The thing is, like, if you're watching someone play VR in like a YouTube video where you're only seeing like a 2D thing, it can be disorienting for you, the viewer, but for the person watching it, like it feels supernatural. Like not supernatural, it feels very natural. So you like for Half-Life Alyx, the game that just came out from Valve, you push forward on the left analog stick, and like a little like your feet representation will show up wherever you point with this thing.
That's wild.
And then you let go of the stick and you just blink out really fast and move to that location and come in, right? So it goes black for like a fraction of a second, and you move to that location, and then it comes back up, and it's like, dude, it is so natural. It's kind of scary. And then you also have like the ability to like reach out at things, and you can see like this very faint line going to the thing, and the thing will be illuminated, whatever it is, like a clip of ammunition, and you just go like that, and it'll fly towards you, and then you catch it, and you can put it in your backpack. And
so
then
that
when you
becomes
need to
your use
reload,
button at that point. Okay.
Yeah, so then when you go to reload, you just reach behind you, and it'll grab whatever ammo for that gun you have equipped, and you just load it. Dude, but the thing is, cool. I found myself I'm like reaching out at things in the real world, and I'm like trying to grab it. Like that's how intense this is.
It's like the fridge opens up and drink.
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's nuts, dude.
Honestly, the way you describe it, it does sound fargin' rad. I mean, we're all nerds. We can get behind super cool, nerdy lawnmower man style technology, but I'm just always going to relate this to Lawnmower Man.
Obviously,
but I don't know. The old fuddy duddy in me is like, but D-pad, up push up button, down push down button, A B select start. Like I just kind of want to be like, nope. Gaming was perfected. Let's move
and all
further.
My stuff's on keyboard. I'm used to keyboard shortcuts. I'm a Counter-Strike guy, so it's just like
if there's not a WASD, why are we WASD? I don't understand.
The thing is,
I want to switch weapons with my mouse wheel.
The thing is,
I want to push the number pad.
I think that there's a difference between gaming and VR. That's the thing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You're going deep on us here now.
Dude.
That's some Lawnmower Man stuff right there.
Yeah. I'm just saying, things did not end well for the Lawnmower Man. Or the people who he was mowing their yard. Like, things went bad. Whether we're talking the short story or the movie, things went bad, dude. I'm just
for
saying.
A lot of people, like for my grandmother, I could probably put the headset on my grandmother, put the hand tracking on my grandmother, and she would be able to play the game.
That's crazy.
She does, and she's never played a video game in her life. Like that's what we're talking about here. It's
like just like that too. Yeah. A lot of it doesn't correlate. Like if you're really good at regular gaming and then you jump in VR, it's a brand new experience. So it's really interesting. I definitely could see that. But VR games by themselves, I mean, to be honest, most of them are real gimmicky, and they almost all of them suck. Yeah. I mean, there's very few decent games. Like there's like a handful.
To be fair, most non-VR games are kind of gimmicky and sucky. Like there's a lot of bad games in this world. That's okay. I'm not going to judge VR.
More so in VR though. VR just doesn't have much budget, so all the games are really short, and even if they are good, it's usually over within an hour or two.
Right. Man, Half-Life Alyx is the first game that has like a AAA budget, and it's 15 hours long, and it's super fun. But I could only play it for like an hour and a half at a time or 2 hours because I'd get physically exhausted. Because like you have the enemies that are coming at you or shooting at you, and you would have to physically duck behind cover and then pop your head up and shoot at them, dude. Like I have like live streams, dude, where I was doing it, and I had the camera going, and you could see what I was doing, and you could see the game. Dude, I got so tired after playing these games. It was so great.
That's kind of rad. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to get myself into it because that just violates all the old fuddy-duddy thing that I have inside my body. But I think I can see the coolness factor.
I think the last gimmicky video game that I really liked, and this is true of most superhero video games, are generally historically garbage. 1982 Spider-Man on Atari. That was awesome.
Yeah.
You remember the sound, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I love that game, and it was gimmicky as hell. Really look at it. It was very gimmicky. I mean, it was setting the precedent for every gimmicky game after that, really. It was pretty good.
But you know what? I mean, a lot of the gimmicky games still can be kind of fun. Like when Nintendo had their Wii with their balance board and their thingy.
I got the Tony Hawk
Wii Fitness. I remember that rage. My god!
A lot of it was pretty jank, but like there was like one game where you were having like a snowball fight with people, and you like duck behind things. That was kind of fun.
It made me with my parents. I mean, they were just blown away. They're like, "Whoa, we're getting up and doing stuff. We're bowling. We're playing tennis. We're not sitting on the couch. It's cool."
Yep. And it is a good workout. Like I could play it every night and I'd probably lose. There was one guy that I think lost 200 pounds playing just Beat Saber. Yeah. So I mean, it works. I mean, you can definitely lose a ton of weight, and heck, with everybody being inside. I mean, if you're big into music, get a freaking VR system and hook up Beat Saber and just play it for a couple hours and mod it out with a whole bunch of your custom songs.
Play it in the recline position, because that's really what I'm looking to do.
You can.
That's what I need. All right.
I'm lying back with my feet out. I'm all,
Yeah. All right. Gardner, give us another question. Let's end on a super nerdy note. What do we got? Make it good. Look at your Gedit list and freak out.
How often do any of us use Vim?
Never.
It's freaking Vim. Why would I use Vim?
Reason to no.
So Vim is still. I gotta chime in here, okay?
Lay it on me, Vim apologist.
Excellent, okay,
right?
Like the ability to just pull up like an edit and then cut and paste from another file, and there's a lot of really powerful things with Vim, and I see why people love Vim. So Vim's excellent. I encourage everyone to go through the Vim tutorial. If you haven't, just go Vim tutor, I think, from command prompt.
You got to do the
learn
tutorial.
It. It's amazing. You do. At the very least, learn how to exit. Just go Shift ZZ to save and quit. and know that it's cursor based. Just learn it. It's definitely worth your time to learn Vim. That said, I still stick to Nano because when I'm making videos and if I'm in Vim, half my audience is going to be like, "What? How do you do that?" And then the comment section would be filled with that, and then I'm like, "All right, well, all right." So that's why I use Nano. It's an inferior product, but
only inferior to Pico. I'm just saying. So
darn tootin', Pico for life.
Pico for life, man.
Pico for life. But I mean, I don't know. I find a lot of the Vim default shortcuts to be a little nonsensical, but as a general rule, it's a nice, powerful editor, right? Like we can all get along in Vim.
Vim makes me want to hurt people. I know.
Vim is fine.
Not a natural.
Like, what the hell's that shortcut again?
Once you learn how to escape from any VI based thing, you're okay. I mean, that's the joke though, is you get into it and you're stuck because you can't leave it. That was for like half a year. That was the best-selling T-shirt on my friggin' website. Was the little escape from Vim shirt, and it's true. I mean, people just can't get out of it. But once they do, it's fine. I mean, it's sort of like Emacs. Once you
because then you can get something usable. I mean, just saying, it's like I've escaped. I'm good.
It's like when you first launch Emacs. It's confusing and stupid and pointless, and you instantly hate it, right?
Yeah.
But once you learn the stuff it can do, you're like, okay, this has value. Do I use Emacs all the time? No, that's dumb. But it has value, and it's good. Just like Vim, I can see why someone would want to.
But I'm
Vim.
lazy.
I just
appeal to my lazy. You're not appealing to my lazy. I think that's the problem.
Edit.com.
There you go.
What editor do you use, Gardner? What's your editor? What's your text editor?
My text editor is VS Code.
That's right.
If it works for him, I say more power to him. I support him.
It's actually Codium, which is like the open source version, but
it does a thing you need it to do. Cool.
Lunduke.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Ridiculous. Give us another question. Give us a better question. We were going to go out on a bang, and you give us that. Disappointed. Give us something good.
Here's one that I think is good. Let's talk about how awesome Zune HD was.
Oh boy,
the Zune was cool.
I loved the Zune.
Zune
I think we've talked about the Zune.
Zune? Wasn't that like failed Microsoft MP3 player?
Yeah, but it was quality. Like when it came out,
it was an iPod killer.
It like honestly from a tech perspective and a usability perspective, it was superior to everything on the market when it came
because
out.
right then I think it was only competing with the iPod with that stupid wheel and the button in the middle that just sucked. I was like, why were they
Creative
thinking?
had a couple of them at that time still.
Dell's digital jukebox was awesome. Actually, it's garbage, but I liked it. So.
Arcos also had the jukebox multimedia and a few other things, and there was a lot of interesting stuff on the market back then. But from the Zune was polished. It was fast. It was fun to use. It was legitimately a good piece of hardware. It really was. And even the software behind it was problematic, but quality. Like it was good. It deserved to do better than it did in the face of like the iPod competition that deserved to do much worse than it did. Personally, just take the marketing aside and just look at purely how fun a thing is to use. Try to ignore the companies that make it, and the Zune was impressive. Yeah, it was an impressive machine.
I liked my Zune a lot. Yeah. I spent my first paycheck on a Zune.
I said that. Do you still have it?
No, my brother has it now. He still uses it.
That's good. Oh my god!
It's totally still usable. Yeah,
I always just hated the iPods with a passion. Like I never got the appeal. Like if you're not drinking the Mac Kool-Aid, the iPod is possibly the crappiest MP3 player in existence. I hated it. Always hated it.
So when the iPod first came out, I was working at Microsoft in the Mac business unit, right? So that was when the iPods came out, and so we got them in there. And what was interesting looking at them, realistically, I thought the coolest thing of it was that you could use FireWire to connect it, make a nice fast connection, And on the Mac side, at least, it became a nice bootable hard drive. So you could have a whole Mac system on your iPod as a mounted drive. And in addition to it being an MP3 player, which meant that you had something that was legitimately really useful there. Like that was a really handy thing at the time. Other than that, if it hadn't had that functionality, toss it. Like it was just not
coming from the Windows perspective. You had to install like iTunes, and I was just like, this is just hot garbage. I can't deal with it. I think I've overused the term hot garbage tonight, but I'm still I'm standing by that statement. I friggin' hated the iPod, and I still hate iTunes to this day. Anytime people are like iTunes, I'm like, no.
Yeah, well, the classic iPods, going back to like say the Nano or something like that, have really good support in Linux music applications to date.
They do.
They work. Yeah, I have a Nano buried here someplace. I used to use it all the time because it's like you put it in Rhythm Box, mount, sync, done. They work great. You can, and they're practically free on eBay. So whatever.
It's
right?
true. You want to get like an old iPod Shuffle, you can get it for like $2.
Seriously, right? I mean, you just want to store music and sync it in Linux. Done.
It's true. It is true.
I missed the boat on this because I was stuck in Windows and it was a nightmare.
Oh no, Windows, it was terrible. iTunes, Windows in general was terrible, to be honest, though.
That's fair. That's a fair statement.
But yeah,
I think no one would ever disagree with that. I think Steve Jobs would agree with that statement.
All right.
Yeah. The Zune was interesting. It was legitimately interesting. And then the Zune service that they built around it was ahead of its time. Everyone got on board
in
with
the right general direction.
Music subscription thing, and the iTunes started doing that, and Google Play Music, and everyone else, and Amazon. Everyone jumped onto it after Microsoft tried it with their Zune subscription service. Zune Pass, was it? I can't even remember.
Zune Pass. It was awesome. Zune Pass was so cool,
and the audio quality was phenomenal. I mean, the audio quality was good, the UI was good, it was great, but it was ahead of the time and mismarketed, and it just
dude, half of the music collection that about half of the music collection that I got back then was from Zune Pass. Right? Yeah. Because you could you would pay whatever, $15 a month or whatever it was, and you'd get you could listen to unlimited music, and then at the end of the month you would get a couple of MP3s for free.
Right. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it was oh man. I was
a big Napster guy, so I had 30 gigs of music all at 128K. I mean, people came to me and was like, I need this, and I'm like, here you go, bam. I mean, it was amazing. The peer-to-peer thing before LimeWire ruined it and all that. I mean, but Napster back in the day, people don't understand how good Napster was when it hit.
It was effective.
It was so clean, and it didn't install a bunch of malware, and it wasn't just cluttered up with a bunch of junk. Yeah. I mean, not that I'm not for piracy at all.
No.
The Lunduke Journal does not condone or support piracy in any form.
God, it was so awesome. I had so much music. I had every amount of music I could possibly get, and Napster was just God, it was so great. That's why it stuck around for 10 years.
Similar, but at the same time, I was also in my OGG Vorbis phase, so I had an OGG player because I was like, I don't need no stinking MP3. I use the OGG and the FLAC like a sir with my monocle and all this,
I was the same way. Everything I had was OGG.
Titanium Town wants me to bring up Zune squirting. Do you ever squirt, Brian, with a Zune?
No.
What?
I'm afraid, but okay.
So, if you had friends who had Zunes, you could share music with each other, and they called it squirting.
It's a synchronizational tool. So you very poorly named synchronization.
I didn't know anybody else who had a Zune.
Wow. So I bought a Zune, and then my cousin bought a Zune because I was so enamored with it, and I was really excited because when you would if we were in proximity of each other, we could create. They would automatically create an ad hoc network, and you could send music files between each other, but they had a 3-day DRM limit on them. And so I was like, well, this really is stupid. Why would anyone want to do this? So I squirted once with my Zune, and that was it.
Wow.
Mic
Oh my
drop.
God.
I didn't know that was a thing at all. Holy frackin' Maloney's. All right.
One last thing, totally without the scoring. Going back to my Dell jukebox, I was trying to remember the software. Nomad Sync. I completely forgot about that, to where you could actually sync your music in Linux with Nomad Sync. I totally forgot.
Oh man, can I just say?
You want to get me on the replay TV thing? That's a whole different. That's a rabbit hole. I'll go. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. We can talk about replays versus TiVos and everything sometime later. The syncing software. What's interesting is we don't do syncing software anymore, but that was a pretty huge part of our lives for a long time. Like Palm Desktop and Active Sync type stuff to sync your Windows CE devices and whatever custom syncing application you had to use for whatever MP3 player you had. Remember when Steve Jobs positioned the Mac as the quote center of your digital life, and like you have like your one desktop PC or Mac that has all the different syncing applications and connectors and cradles for your different things. I'm gonna go out and say something. I miss that. I really, really miss that. I am not a fan of everything goes up to the cloud that's hosted at Amazon.
So you're a fan of the computer being the base station of all.
Yeah,
so like it's changed though. I mean, this is still like I've pulled it all back. Like I when I went to YouTube and I really started getting in the Linux community and embracing the open source and a lot of the really awesome projects in Linux. If you really look around, there's projects that are better than Google Cloud and all this other crap that people are like paying tons of money for. Like the thing is, a lot of the software I was buying on Windows is completely free in Linux, and some of the software is even better than the paid counterparts. Right. Almost, there's a lot that are really, really good, and I was like, oh my god, just people don't know about it. And then I was like, well, I need to stop my Dropbox. So I got sent this Synology box, and I was like, hey, I'll go ahead and use that. I know Synology, QNAP, I know all the other stuff. And I started pulling everything into that, like a great, to your point, Brian, that you need to get on if you're using any online cloud services, which you're probably not. But let's say you were.
Yeah, hypothetical here. I have some Nextcloud boxes that I self-host.
Right. So like instead
through
of
Linode at linode.com/Lunduke. Yes. Good
plug. But like you got Nextcloud, you got SyncThing. I mean, SyncThing's amazing. Like I've went ahead and threw it on that. Fun. That's a really good one. Yeah. I mean, there's so much now to where I've pulled everything back, and I still have my backups to where I don't care if this box blows up. I can re-download it all. But if someone were to go and try and get my data from that location for my backups, I'm using rclone with encryption.
I'd say rclone, yeah. I use rclone
with encryption. I mean, hell, I did a whole video on that, and all my stuff is just up there encrypted. Yep. So even if someone grabbed it, there'd just be nonsense to them.
Exactly.
And then I can pull that back down, decrypt it, and then I have all my stuff. Awesome, I mean, so the syncing thing, I think is coming back, man. I think honestly, you say you miss it. I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm bringing it back because I don't use any of those services. I'm saving money. It's amazing. I mean, I love it.
Either. No, wired, tethered. I put my thing in my cradle. I push the button, and does the little Palm desktop sync. I want that again. I want that. I have a Palm that sits in my Palm desktop that syncs to my Power Mac 6100 that runs an old version of Palm desktop, so I can sync my old Palm gadgets. And then from there, I use an Ethernet cable to move the data around to my other machines. I want to bring that back. I want machines. I want one computer to be the center of my digital life. I
think that's like we could do like a Raspberry Pi project or something like that. Right. With a little
with support
bring back
for
like a
all the
2020 Palm
things.
Yeah. But do all open source, all through like a Raspberry Pi project, like a little touch screen or something. Whatever you wanted, you could build.
Right. Last time I did that was I did a Pogo plug. I used it to reboot routers. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I bought it for $5.
Didn't Wendell make like a modem, like a computer inside a modem and you would connect to it?
Sort of. So essentially what Wendell did, is he was using TCP/SEER to emulate a modem, and you could log in, and then but he was just a little Raspberry Pi Pi Zero sitting inside of a modem case.
That's pretty cool though.
So you totally can do that. It's do you guys remember my Noodle Pi? That anywhere? Because that was awesome. I would love to see a rebooted PDA category of machines, just like modern, based on a Pi Zero or whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy beefy, but man, bring PDAs back. No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi. Do an Etsy store on that. I will buy the product. I'm just saying. You guys want to take like Palm Pilots and I would totally do that.
I would love like cool. Or like was it the Palm Tungsten C? Was that the one that had the physical keyboard, thumb keyboard on the bottom and the color screen up top? Was one of the later ones. Have you guys seen the new project? It's something that's coming out, because like you have all these ebook readers like the Kindle Paperwhite and all that crap. But there's an open source reader coming and hitting the market. And I was looking at that and I was like, man, if I could just pimp that out and make it do a couple things kind of in the same realm, and that would be really cool. And it looks a little funky from the prototype I saw from what I was reading. I saw the one I think you're talking about. There's usually a new one that comes out about every year and a half. There's a new project for an open source like ebook, e-ink reader type thing that comes about, and they all seem to disintegrate before they. I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, cool, new ebook type reader thing. When I see it, I'll believe it. Like I have gotten to the point where I'm just like, I don't trust it. Like
Canonical must be behind it.
Yeah, Canonical's behind it. Yeah, no. I really want them to succeed. Like I want to see more cool gadgetry like that. I just, I'm trying not to get emotionally invested in these sorts of things anymore until they're a little bit further along, because I know how it goes. I mean, even with the best of intentions and good funding, those sorts of projects can end up exploding on themselves. So. Yeah. All right, guys. This has been fun. This is what you do during a quarantine. You get a pandemic together. You talk with some nerds about nerdy things for roughly 2 hours. That's what you do. Chris, Titus, my man. Pimp something. Tell someone to go somewhere and click on a universal resource locator for you. Tell them about it.
Man, I got nothing. I just say, hey, I got nothing. All I gotta say is, I like the be excellent to each other. That's what I'm gonna leave with today, because I think that's just I notice a lot of people are a little on edge because we've been cooped up, and I'm just saying, my whole thing today is just going to be excellent to each other, be nice, leave someone a nice comment on YouTube, because man, I'm telling you, my comment section is gone. There's some dark comments in there. It's getting a little darker this past week, and I just I want to make a nice plug. Doesn't have to be
gotta stop.
Just leave a nice comment for somebody.
I gotta lay off commenting on Titus's YouTube channel, because I mean, how many dummy accounts can I create just to say something mean? Gardner, what you got going on? Plug a thing.
Yo, go over to hellostory.org. It's my new website. I'm very excited about it. You can also go to lbry.tv/@linuxgamer and watch my videos there. It's cool.
Can. You can even tip the Linux Gamer using LBCs. Which their value is shooting through the roof over the last couple of days, and I love that.
That's awesome,
dude. And here's the thing, guys. When I say shooting through the roof, it's sitting at, brace yourselves, 2.3 cents per LBC right now.
Oh my God, it's over a cent?
It's over 2 cents. I mean, it was up at like 4 or 5 cents. Was it back in December or something like that?
Yeah.
But stuff happens. But yeah, it's been going up, and LBCs are kind of tied to Bitcoin, really. Realistically, it's tied to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been going up too. So the combination of the two going up, it's doing all right. So go and give those pennies every time you send Gardner or me or someone else or Titus is on the library. Send us an LBC. That's like dropping 2 1/3 pennies into our tip cup.
Even just watching our videos.
Right. Yeah. Watch their videos. Definitely.
Yeah.
I do have a tutorial that I did put together here semi-recently. Well, 13th, but that's kind of recently.
Yeah.
It's at Patreon/Freedom Penguin. You can check it out. It's basically the second attempt at getting GPU rendering with Kdenlive, and it actually works.
Nice.
It works as Kdenlive 1912 or 3, whatever. It's all the details are in there. It should also work with AMD and Intel, theoretically. I've not tried that, but it does work with NVIDIA.
Where's that at? How people get that?
Patreon.com/Freedom Penguin, and then look for it. It's a publicly available. You don't
have to pay for that one.
No. Just go check it out.
You can.
Oh, if you want to,
can pitch into the Hartleys.
But I actually posted the benchmarking, so you can actually see kind of what you're looking for as to whether or not it's working. But yeah, ideally it should work with non-NVIDIA stuff as well. But it does work really well with NVIDIA. Made a huge difference. Just look at the screenshots. Proofs in the pudding. So yeah, and it's a recent update. Awesome. It works. Yeah.
Love that. I love that.
And I never make videos, so it's kind of funny that I found that out. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, wow, this is totally not okay, cool.
What are you talking about? You're making video magic now,
That's true.
Hartley.
That's true.
Right now. Look at this with our composited fancy effects. Again, thank you to everyone for doing this stuff with us. Thank you for supporting like these awesome fine gentlemen and some of the other nice quote unquote creators, which I don't love that phrase, but whatever we're gonna call people, creators.
Creators.
I'm a maker.
I'm a social media influencer, bro.
I am feeling influenced. I'm feeling very influenced right now.
I write things and make a show. Like I don't know. I don't like any of the titles. They make me feel weird. My nose itches. But thank you guys for supporting not just me and what I'm doing with Lunduke Journal and all that, but Gardiner and Titus and to a lesser extent Hartley. Like thank you guys for helping to support and make all these things possible. Because seriously, it wouldn't be possible. If you're supporting me on Patreon, thank you. Go support him too, and any of these guys that also. You guys all have Patreons? Do you have Patreon, Titus?
Oh, yeah. I think everyone does.
Go round robin. Go click, 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 click. I love all these guys. Click, click, click. Toss a buck around. If you're currently giving me $5, divvy it up. Divvy it up all over the place. Because that's rising tide, all ships go up. Or something like that. That's like something a phrase. That's a phrase someone came up with. Yeah. Navy dude came up with that idea. So thank you for doing that. And if you're not currently using Patreon, find a way to support one of these blokes, one of these crazy dudes. Just find a way. Distribute their stuff. Pitch them a buck. Whatever. Click on the uplinkies and the votertudes where you plus ones and the thumbs and the hearts and the emojis. Do all those things. Do all those things. Go into their chats on YouTube if you find yourself bored in this thing. Find all the mean ones. Report them and downvote them and thumb them down. And make all the big ones go up. All the good ones. Do that. That's a good way to go. All right, everybody. That's all I got here on this beautiful Saturday night. I hope everyone has a really, really righteous next week. I hope nothing really horrible happens more next week. I hope everyone has food. I hope everyone has TP.
I got a lot of food.
Everyone here have TP and food?
Yep.
I can build
I got 15 rolls, so I'm good.
15 rolls or 15 boxes of rolls?
No, 15 rolls. So
I love it when you were counting.
Hopefully next week's shipment comes in.
Right. Well, how many people you got at your house there? You got 4 or 5?
I'm good. I'll help you out.
How many people you got at your house, Titus?
4. So just my daughter, my son, my wife, and me.
See, we've got 5 here, but one of them's still on, the wipes. There's only 4 people still using the TP. Oh man, so I tell you, when you've got a 4-year-old boy, you go through a lot of TP. You just go through so much TP. I swear he's either not using enough TP or he's using way too much. He can't seem to find that right.
My wife's like, you guys get 3 plies, okay? You take more than 3 plies, we're gonna have words.
You guys are rationing your squares.
Well, we have different toilet paper. I have the Charmin Red, which is my wife. She gets the good stuff. And then I have the Costco stuff, which I've got more than I know what to do with. It's just kind of a free-for-all for the house. But we have different levels. We also have an emergency stash of single ply. That is like the end of the world has happened.
Right.
We are Mad Max.
Oh, the single ply is the worst.
It's garbage. I mean, it's just. But I ended up getting it somewhere. So, but that's like. So I do. I have a garage. I'm good. I'm probably.
You're good. All right.
Yeah.
And Gardner, you're fine, right? You're good.
Oh yeah, I'm groovy, baby.
All right, that's it. We're headed off into the danger zone. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us, and we will see you all like some other time.
Oh my God.
Later, guys.
Bye.